Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Mindy Eggen. In today's video, I'm going to be creating this cute and simple holiday scene using products from the new Joyful Holiday Card Kit from Gina Designs. If you haven't had a chance to look yet, here is a quick glance at the Joyful Holiday Card Kit. It is always jam-packed with product at such a great value. So I will have this and all of the supplies that I'm using today in the video listed down below in the video description. I'm going to start off by doing some ink blending. So this is a piece of layering white cardstock that is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I started by ink blending sea glass ink. Then I flipped my card and I'm bringing in Turquoise Sea. And then I'm going to top it off with Tranquil Teal. So I have a gradual color change from darkest to lightest. The lightest part of my card is going to be the bottom or towards where the snow hill is going to be. I love using Gina's layering white cardstock for ink blending because it is so super smooth. I'm going to set this off on the side to dry. I need this to be completely dry before I can do anything else to it right now. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I am going to use this really cute penguin stamp set. I fell in love with these cutesy images, especially that one where these two are kind of together. So I have this on some Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock, which is one of my favorite cardstocks to use when I'm using my Copic markers. So I'm going to stamp that in the Obsidian ink, which is an amalgam ink from Gina, and it is Copic friendly. So I'm going to stamp that twice to make sure I have a really crisp, clean image. Now I'm going to start doing the Copic coloring, and I did speed this process up quite a bit only because it was a pretty simple image to color in. I unfortunately did not write down all of the Copic markers that I used. This one that I'm using for the penguins is most likely N8, N6, and N4 because that's typically the color combination I like to use. So I did that for both of the penguins, and I kind of have the shadow areas being on the side where the highlight area is going to be in the middle on that first penguin I colored, not covered. Now for this one, I'm using that same color combination, except I have a highlight area kind of coming in from the left-hand side of the penguin. Quite honestly, my highlight areas were all over the place. I just really didn't care where the highlight was. I just really wanted to have a light and a dark side so that it showed a little bit of contrast and dimension to my image. So after I have all of that colored, the penguin bodies, I'm going to come in for the inside of them, and I'm using just some really light markers. This is B00, and then I think I have a B000 and the quadruple 0 to blend it out. I'm blending out to the white, so I don't color it completely. I just kind of blend it out so it fades off into the white. For the boots and the scarf and the earmuffs, I'm going to use a red Copic color combination. Reds are, to me, just so temperamental. For me, they're really easy to bleed, which I did. I kind of bumped a little bit and I got some red on areas that I wanted to leave white, but I'm going to show you how I fix that. I still really love using reds, especially for holiday cards. It's just that for me, they just tend to bleed a little bit easier than most colors. And because it's such a bright color, it really stands out. But I do have a trick that I've kind of picked up that's going to help kind of hide any little imperfections that I might have. Because I used the Obsidian ink, that is also good for watercoloring or colored pencils with some Gamma-Sol. The Amalgam Obsidian ink is really a one-stop ink. You can use everything with it. So if you wanted to try some colored pencils, that would be a lot easier to control your color and get into those small areas of the image. Now, after I finished with the red, I moved into a couple greens for a green hat, a light gray on the very outer edge for the hat trim and the pom-pom on top, and then some oranges for the beaks. I'll take the coordinating die that also comes in that Joyful Holiday Card Kit, line it up over the image, hold it in place with a low-tack tape, and run it through my die cut machine. Now here is my secret weapon. This is a white Jelly Roll pen, and I am just coloring over those white stripes. I wanted that to kind of be candy cane looking, so I'm using that to kind of hide those blemishes or those imperfections that I had done when I was Copic coloring. Now that my back panel is dry that I had ink blended, I am going to be heat embossing this beautiful string of stars. Now this stamp set is also included in the card kit, and I lined it up onto my cardstock, but I'm moving my cardstock up in my Misty tool, and the reason for that is I want to be able to flip my cardstock and stamp it again. So I'm prepping this with an anti-static powder tool. Then I'm going to ink up this string of stars with my Gina K Designs embossing and watermark ink, stamp that down, and then I'm going to flip my cardstock. So I am able to create a whole background just using this one stamp set. It's a little hard to see it on screen, but I can see kind of the darker impression of that embossing ink on my background. So I was able to kind of line up and make sure that those string of stars are not overlapping too much. I'm going to sprinkle on some white embossing powder, but this would also look gorgeous in silver or gold embossing powder. I think would be beautiful as well. Then after my heat tool is nice and warmed up, I can bring that to my card panel and just melt that embossing powder. And what I typically like to do once my panel has cooled off is just take a Swiffer cloth and rub over it to remove any excess powder that may be left behind from my anti-static powder tool. I'll then trim this panel down. Now this is a die out of the Master Layouts 2 die set. It's my most used die out of all of them. I love the size of it, and it's going to leave me a great white border around my card front. Now I also wanted to add a snow hill, and this one I believe is Master Layouts 6. I will have it linked down below for sure, but it's a bunch of scene building dies. So I'm die cutting this snow hill out of just some heavyweight white cardstock. And now for a sentiment, I lined up all of my pieces that I'm going to have on the card front, so I knew exactly where I wanted the sentiment to go. I really liked this stamp set that had the jingle on it. I thought that was just really super cute. So once I lined everything up, I removed the pieces I didn't need and stamped jingle all the way on the bottom there on my snowbank. Now for my actual card front, I will be using a piece of white cardstock that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I am taking my ink blended panel and I am just going to add a layer of foam tape to the back just to give my card a little bit of dimension. After I have that trimmed down and I remove the backing of my foam tape, I can add this to the front of that card that I created, or that card front that I created. And it's going to leave me just a really nice white margin around my ink blended panel. So now I can come in and just add my snowbank using a tape runner, and I will attach the penguins with some foam tape as well. Now I know that there is kind of, I don't want to say dead space, but there's a lot of open space right above my sentiment, and I really had thought of heat embossing the sentiment onto cardstock and adding it, but I really liked kind of having it open to show off that string of stars in my background, and I also really didn't want to add any more color to this. I really like just stamping directly onto that white snowbank, so that is why I kind of have that open space there. I hope you enjoyed today's cute little scene using these penguins from the Joyful Holiday Card Kit from Gina K Designs. I will have all of the supplies listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again soon.